So while you've been building this app, you've probably noticed that some of the data is a little bit, shall I say, suspect. It's a great API for the money, but I've come to find out that a lot of this data is inaccurate at times. And how do we combat this? Well, the way that we combat it is we get our data straight from the source. We get our data directly from the 10K. And the way that we're going to do this is we are going to build a nice little bar similar to our comparable finder that's going to allow us to click on the individual 10K that we want by the year and take us directly to the company 10K so that we can get the best data possible. And let's go ahead, let's hop into VS Code. This is going to be incredibly similar to the bar that we just built before to compare our stocks. And as we've done in every single video before, we're just going to cruise on down to our API endpoints. We're going to grab the last one and we are going to copy it. And then we are going to say get 10K, just like this. This will suffice. Also, need to go down here. We need to type this as well too. We're going to say get 10K. We don't have this type yet, so we need to create it. So what I'm going to do is go down to where all my types are, just like every other video. And I'm going to create a type for it. And we'll call this interface, call this company 10K. And we are going to populate this with the data that's going to come back from our API. We're going to have a string. We're going to have a filing date. Also, if you don't want to type any of this out, you can just go to my GitHub. But while we're here, I'm just going to go ahead and type it because it makes more sense than going through and copying and paste. I think we'll actually save more time here. And so go type. All of these are going to be a string. We'll have a link. This is actually going to be the most important one. And then we are going to have a final link. So we'll say final link, and then we will have a string, just like that. So now that our company 10K is typed, we can go ahead into here and we can go ahead and auto import it. So we're just going to go ahead in here, go ahead and import that. And now we need to go to the actual financial modeling prep. And what you want to do is you want to go to the search here, type in sec filings, go to the first one, go here and just go ahead and grab that link. Make sure to get page 0. Make sure that it's type 10K. You could also get, I think it's the 10Q or it's the Q something. I don't know the actual term for it, but there's a quarterly. But we want the K because the K is the biggest one and it's the actual annual report, which is going to be more than likely what you're going to use if you're actually evaluating a stock. So I'm just going to take this over here, go ahead and grab it. I don't want to expose my primary or my key again, so going to go ahead and just grab it. So after you've grabbed the link, what you want to do is go back over here. We've done this a lot. I'm sure you're probably familiar with how this works. And then we're going to also make sure we have the API URL, or the API key. So I'm going to say API key, go ahead and make sure that that is looking good. I think I have 2 Ks here. So API key. Yes, that is exactly what we want. Also, make sure to replace the query. So I'm going to go query, and then we will now have it dynamically populated. Everything's looking good. So let's go into the actual meat of the project here. And we're going to do the almost literally the exact same thing. We're going to have a list. So go up into the components, going to say 10K finder, just like that. Go ahead, create a file, say 10K finder and TSX. Then go into here, use my snippet. That looks good. Go into here, do the same exact thing. So 10K finder.css. And we are now ready to rock. Okay, so we need the ticker, obviously. So go into here, say ticker. And we're going to also new up some state. So let's go here, get our brackets going on, get our state array. So company data, set company data. So we'll say set company data. And we're going to use state. And we're also going to bring in that nice little type that we just made. So say company 10K. Great. That looks good. Also, make sure that this is an array. And we also need to make sure that we have the brackets right there. So go ahead and here, and we'll say use state. Looking good. Now we need to bring in our use effect because we need to initialize this when the actual component loads. We're going to go down and bring this while we're here. We're just going to go ahead and bring it in. Going to create a function that's going to house all of our async data. So get 10K data, and we're going to make this async. Go into here, create this function, go down, bring in our actual API call, say value is equal to await, say get 10K, and we're going to pass in our ticker. And let me see here, bring this in. And the ticker we need to bring in up here within our props. So go ahead, bring in this ticker. It's abstracted, or it's destructured. And we're going to go set the company data. And we're going to pass in a value with an optional of data. Looking good. Now we need to actually execute this function, because if we don't have this, it won't actually run. So get 10K data. So make sure that it is running. Also, always make sure that you have your dependencies right here. So we'll have ticker. Looking great. Okay, so same deal as before. We're going to give it a little bit of styling, obviously, because we don't want it to just be raw HTML buttons, because that looks terrible. We're going to make this rounded. Go rounded medium. We'll give it a little bit of shadow. To make it look nice, and we'll give it a margin of 4. Looking good. Go back down, and we're going to make an optional. So company data. So say company data, and make sure, so company data optional dot slice. And I chose not to bring in all of the 10Ks. If you bring in all the 10Ks, a lot of times companies have 10Ks from like the 80s, and we really ideally only want the last 10K, the last few 10Ks, the last 5 in my case that I chose. And the slice is going to slice it so that it doesn't bring back all of the actual 10Ks. And here we go. Looking good. Now we need to return, and this is where we're going to bring in our 10K finder item. So we'll say 10K finder item. Just like that. But we don't actually have this. So what we need to do is we need to go make it. And we're going to make it right now. So 10K finder, and we'll call this 10K finder item. So 10K finder item. And that's what we'll call the folder. 10K finder item. So 10K finder item. And we'll say TSX. Then we'll go into here, new up, or bring in our snippet. Then we're going to also bring in the CSS. So we'll say 10K finder item.css, just in case we need to use CSS down the line. So now our 10K finder item is looking good. Okay, so we're inside the 10K finder item right now. First things first, we need to type the actual 10K that we're going to pass into it, and we're going to pass in the whole entire 10K. So just go ahead, bring in the whole entire type, and we also need to put our props in for what we're bringing in as well too. Can't forget that. Before we actually put the data into the JSX, we want to make our date look a little bit better. If you just go ahead and throw the date in there, it's going to look really bad. So what I did is I went in and abstracted away the date, I guess you could say, and made it so that the date is going to look a lot more legible. Because if we just, like I said, we just put that date in there raw, it's going to look really bad. So just go ahead, use get full year, and all of the required abstraction is going to be within JavaScript, so it's going to be really easy to do. Okay, so now what we need to do is, because it's a link, it's going to be very similar to the link that we had before. And let's go ahead pass in our 10K just in the middle of it right here, just so we can tell. And what I'm going to do is just put a hyphen, put 10K, see 10K dot symbol. Looks good. And then we're going to use the filing date that we abstracted up there, or filing, should be filing date, I think, not filing data. I think filing date is a little bit more representative. Okay, so let's go ahead, push this down, go over here. We're going to need to reload the document on this one too, so we can reload the whole entire page, because it's going to have to reload the whole entire stock each time that we press it. So make sure to put reload document. We're going to go 10K. We're going to have the final link, and this is going to take us straight to the actual 10K filing, which is going to be very helpful. Make sure to put button, because it is a button. I think if you put something else, it may act strangely. So class name, and let's give this thing a little bit of styling. And the styling that we're going to apply is the inline flex. Give it a little bit inline flex, item center. I want to center this and give it some padding. So I'm going to go P4. I think P4 should look great. Text, we'll say text medium. You can make this small. I'm going to say text white. We probably want to make this a little bit different of a color than our actual recommendation bar. And I'm going to go ahead, reach into my background colors and give it a background green. And we'll also say rounded medium. And I think that should be good. I also have the more decked out button if you want on my actual GitHub. So if you want the more fancy button, go ahead and just copy all that and just throw that in there, and it'll look fantastic. Okay, and also can't forget, we need to bring this in. We need to import this from React Router DOM. Also need to go into here, and we need to pass in the required data. The required data is going to, let me see here. Let me actually check the type. So 10K finder. So 10K finder item, for some reason it's not wanting to be brought in. And for some reason it didn't do the export. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to export default 10K finder item right here and go ahead, export that. Let's see if we can actually bring it in. Okay, there we go. Great. It's bringing it in. Also going to check the type. It is missing the 10K property, so we need to pass in the 10K, and we'll pass in the 10K right there. Let's see here. I'm going to bring in the spinner. So let's go ahead and get the spinner. That looks good. Go into here. Go ahead, import that, and let's see if we can bring this in. Components or the components folder is getting huge, so it's getting difficult to see all this. So go into here, and I'm going to say 10K finder, and then we will bring in the ticker. But I think it's going to ask for that, so it's probably going to ask for the ticker. Yes, we need the ticker, so we're going to here. We'll say company dot symbol. Looks like everything is loading as usual. Let me go ahead and check over here. And if you look over here, you now can see that we have our 10K. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to test out Tesla real quick. Let's look at Tesla's 10K. Oh my gosh, that is beautiful. That is actually very cool. I'm not even trying to hype things up. This is actually really cool. I'm really liking this app. Anyways, hope that you guys enjoyed this. If you did, make sure to smash that like button. Make sure to smash that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for watching.